right, we're looking at the GTX 260 Plus by Galaxy, and if you never heard of Galaxy, well, they make a lot of good stuff, including power supplies and video cards and all this great stuff. They used to be called KFA2. I don't really know what's up with their name changing and all this great stuff, but this is their GTX 260 Plus, and just so you know, that's not like a die-shrunk GTX 260. This is like the Core 216 or the Max Core. They just happen to call it the GTX 260 Plus, which in the end, all it really was, you know, NVIDIA added, they went from 192 to 216 cores, and that gives you more performance. It actually brings you really, really close. I'll tell you this card overclocked is faster than the GTX 280. Okay, just to give you a general idea. Now, let's talk about some of the specs on a card like this. What you get 560 megahertz core clock, which is very fast. 216 shaders that are operating at 1242 megahertz, which is very, very good. You get 896 megabytes of, yes, 896 megabytes of GDDR3 that is double pumped, or because it's GDDR3, so it's effectively at 1998, so almost 2 gigahertz, just a hair below. 448-bit wide interface, which is very large actually. It's just a little bit smaller than the 512 that's on the GTX 280. Okay, that gives you a total of 111.9 gigabytes per second, which is a lot of memory throughput. And what else do you get? You get PCI Express 2.0, which is what this card uses to interface with your motherboard. You get HDCP, which lets you transfer Blu-rays to your big television or whatnot. If you want to watch something, it'll let you do that. HDMI support, DirectX 10. You get shader model 4.0. You get a lot of great stuff on a card like this. And these are all vanilla reference designs, and they're priced very nicely, so they will save you a little bit of cash. If you're trying to build a really nasty system and you want to save some money, get the generic reference card that looks like this. It's nothing special. It ain't overclocked. It's more affordable. Overclock it yourself, and everything else is the same. You're going to save yourself money, and in the end, you're going to get more performance. If you save 30 bucks here, it might only be 30 bucks when you're already spending in the hundreds of dollars for a video card. But those 30 bucks, hey, it goes somewhere else. It's an extra stick of DDR2 right there, or a slightly better processor. So always, you know, max out all the stuff you can do. Get the most for your money. Now, let me talk to you a little bit more about the card for those that don't know too much about it. This is PCI Express 2.0 to interface with your card, but you can use PCI Express X16 if you still have that type of technology, like a 680i board. You still be able to run this no problem, okay? It'll still work. Now, let's talk about, let me just give you a quick brief tour around the card. First of all, I'm going to show you here, this is obviously, it's a dual slot design, so you will need 2 PCI expansion slots to run this, sorry. And you have 2 dual link DVIs right there and right there. So these will do a maximum resolution of 2560 by 1600. There's not much else higher than that anyway, so they're pretty much maxed out. You do have dual monitor support unless you run them in SLI. So if you were to buy 2 of these video cards, you wouldn't have dual monitor support at least until the Forceware 180 drivers come out, which I just don't even know when they're going to come out, but very soon. I think you know, NVIDIA has plans on letting you do dual monitor support with SLI. This is an S-video input or output, sorry, and that's digital. So it's a 7-pin S-video, and you can actually send out HD signals to your television through here, no problem. And just to show you how simple they make it for you, they give you this in the box. It's a little component converter, and it goes from an S-video to a component. This is called a little breakaway dongle, and this is very useful. You also get HDMI, which is even better. This will do 1680 by 1080p out to your 1080p television, and it'll also do 7.1 channel sound through that cable. Now, if you want to get that sound, you're going to have to use this little SPDIF wire, which is called an audio loop cable, and this will pretty much go from a SPDIF header on your motherboard or from your video sound card to this, and that's pretty much going to send the sound over the HDMI out to your television, which is fantastic. Also included in the box, in case you don't have it, this is a 4-pin Molex to 6-pin PCI Express adapter, okay? This is for your power supply. If you don't have an older power supply and you don't have those PCI Express connectors, you can use that. All right, so since we're on the subject of power, let's talk about it. You're going to need 2 6-pin PCI Express connectors, okay? So one is not going to cut it. You do need to have both of these. Right here, this is where you put that little cable that I was just talking to you about. Make sure you got this. You're going to need about 500 watts, but that is the minimum. And if you have more, it definitely doesn't hurt to have a little bit of overkill. The box requires 40 amps on the plus 12 volt rail, so that's insane. If you want to run SLI, you're going to need closer to 50 amps and 700 watts, okay? Now, depending on the quality of your power supply, it really depends on what kind of rating you're going to need. I guarantee you that there's some really high quality power supplies out here. They're like 400 or 500 watts that would run this video card, and I bet you there's a bunch out there that are 600 or 700 that wouldn't run it, because those ratings are just, they're not really There's no like ANSI certification for it, let's put it that way, ANSI. Now, another thing you want to know, if you're putting this card in an older computer, make sure you have enough space to put it. It's 10.5 inches long. It's very, very big, and you're going to have to make sure that you have enough space to go from the PCI expansion slot all the way back past the motherboard. You want to make sure of a couple things. A, you want to make sure it doesn't hit the hard drive cage that's probably going to be here in most cases, or anything else. You also want to make sure that the card's not going to cover your SATA connectors, because sometimes you have this, the cards like this, and your motherboard like stops right here. Your SATA connectors will be pointing up, and this thing will block it completely. You won't be able to get any hard drives. And a computer with a video card and no hard drives is pretty much not even a computer. It's just pointless. Can't do much. You're not going to have an operating system, stuff like that. So take all those things into account and consider this card heavily if you're trying to build a budget system. The GTX 260 Plus is like the Core 216 from the other brands. They added a bunch of shader cores. They went from 192 to 216, and just that alone, even though they didn't clock anything faster, it gives you so much more performance. And if you overclock this thing, again, you are as fast as a GTX 280, which is really cool, factory GTX 280. So excellent card at a great price. Galaxy is an awesome brand. I love these guys. If you have any questions on the card, feel free to email me, and that's it. I'll see you guys next time. The Galaxy GeForce GTX 260 Plus video card is available from the retailers listed here, or for more information, you can type in G458-260 into any major search engine. For Computer TV, I'm Albert.